setup of our organization. We'll come to the setup a little bit later.
Yeah. Let me interject now,
Of
because
course.
what you're talking about is gold, and I don't want you to miss it, because as somebody who's been a practitioner of project management for over 30 years, and I've been a consultant now for about 20, I've had the luxury and the beauty of being able to be exposed to wonderful companies where I get to learn. I don't just get to teach, but I also get to learn. I get to see their learning process. I get to participate in their lessons learned. And one of the things that I've always noticed, and I still, when I advise companies today, I notice, is I'm shocked about the integration of project management from what I call the bottom to the top. Maybe we can use Siemens as an example, because you said the initiative, the first pain points were identified in 1999, right? You've already said Siemens has a long history. So let me tell you something. I think we don't have to guess about this. Siemens has been doing project management for a lot longer than that,
Absolutely.
right? So let me ask you a question. How did Siemens manage those projects before there was a conscious awareness from the board?
Well, that's actually difficult to answer. I would say the first big projects were done with the Siemens founding fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had a huge project building a telegraph line, from Europe all the way to India. Mm-hmm. Yeah, over thousands of miles.
So a mega project.
A mega project.
Yeah.
And when you think, as far as I remember, the Siemens brothers were the project managers or the sub-project managers,
which is classic.
It's fantastic.
What I always tell my clients when we talk about sponsorship, a lot of people don't know what's a sponsor good for. And I always ask, do you have a project manager? Yes. Do you have a sponsor? They sometimes say, what's a sponsor? And I said, well, it's somebody who authorizes, who guides, who supports, who links the strategy and the mission with the actual operations of the project, and also gives you immediate access to the powers that be, right? Mm-hmm. And people say, well, okay, I understand what a sponsor is now. Who should be sponsor? And my standard answer that I give them is God, or a demigod. And they always look at me, what do you mean? I said, it needs to be a board member or one level below. And this is a classic real life example. This project was so important. The benefit of this project is that the Siemens brothers were involved, right? Mm-hmm. So in the sense of making decisions, there was no barriers.
Yeah, and now imagine the following. Imagine one sits in St. Petersburg, the other one sits somewhere in India, and then the third one somewhere else in the world, and they needed to communicate. Yeah. And the communication at that time went, I don't know, by horses, by ship and so. Yeah. So today it takes seconds to communicate with each other. Yeah? And the other thing which was very interesting is the impact that such a project had. Because when this telegraph line was there, the communication time reduced from something like 2 weeks down to approximately half an hour. So there was also a meaning behind what you do. And I think it's great to work for a company, and I'm very happy about that creates so many meaningful projects. Yeah? But coming back to today, or to the question,
I'm not going to let you off the hook yet.
Okay.
Because I'm going somewhere with this. So you gave me a perfect example. We started in 1999, just to bring you back to what you said, where you said the board got involved. God bless the board. I love the board. Okay. Then I said, yeah, but there was project management before that, and you went right back to the board. I'm not letting you off the hook, because my experience at Siemens, and I think you have this experience as well, is what happened between when the Siemens brothers did project management and 1999. There were literally thousands of projects that were managed by hundreds of thousands of projects managed by different business units. And there's a strong history that I think one has to respect. Okay? And I think it's incredibly indicative of how maturity builds up in an organization, especially a large organization like Siemens. How many employees does Siemens have worldwide?
Nowadays about 300, 330.
Only?
Yeah.
Okay. So
330,000,
a massive company represented all over the world. Your employees still had to manage projects. Maybe not the India telegram projects, but smaller projects. And I know this as a fact, and you know this as a fact. A lot of these business units said, well, we need some kind of process. And Siemens has a long history that individual business units, individual regions or countries said, okay, if we need project management and we don't have a god or a demigod telling us what to do, well, we have to decide it ourselves.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear from you a little bit your feedback, because what I think is great, and I think a lot of organizations have this issue, is that in the absence of board awareness, and I'm not speaking for Siemens, but I will speak for a lot of companies, I'm shocked how few board members in the world have any idea of what's going on in project management in their company. I've actually gone up to board members and I will say, how many projects do you have in your portfolio? And they look at me like I'm speaking a foreign language, okay? Which is not the case at Siemens. You board members at Siemens very well know how many projects they have, what size,
pretty sure.
What size those projects, what the total capital of investment of project is, what the target ROI, which is what we're talking about portfolio now. I think, let's take PMI, which is the Project Management Institute. They have wonderful standards on everything, right? They have the PMBOK guide, in the meantime is this thick. You know how thick the standard on portfolio management is? Yeah. Which is kind of an indication of the state of affairs. And I'm shocked because what I've always said, for a high level of project management maturity, first place you start in maturity is your teams have to be able to do project management. And Siemens was good at I always say project management often starts as a grassroots movement, right? If in absence of governance or guidelines, people figure it out themselves, okay? But I think what I'd love to hear from you is Siemens had many, many decades of people doing their own thing. I think how many different standards were there at Siemens before 1999?
I would say numerous.
He's being conservative.
Yeah, well, both in our whole matrix organization. Yeah, I would not even say that in a certain branch or organization, headquarter and countries, there was the same methodology in place, and that is of course true. Siemens has always been a mature company. Mm-hmm. Siemens has always had a very, very high level of technical knowledge, of as we call it, ingenuity, as or engineering spirit, and but it was dependent on the single people,
on individual initiatives,
on the individual knowledge and experience that had built up in our company, and there was maybe, I assume, too little room to share and to also at some point exert governance. Mm-hmm. Governance in the full-blown project management sense of the word.
Well, it was kind of, I think, also seen as an imposement. I think your board members were kind of proud of the fact you had highly professional, highly motivated employees that were getting the business done. And as long as that worked, that was fine. But what we're talking about, and this is why I'm so thrilled to have you here today, you get actually to share with us a little bit the Siemens experience that in 1999, I think there was a transition. Something went click in the brains of board members where they said, you know what? It's great that we have individual project management systems, but we're a large corporation. Where's the synergy? Where's the potential? Are we doing program management? Is there cross-fruition between the business units? Mm-hmm. How does it look? Do we have a uniform capability program?
And the idea in the beginning, the goals in the beginning were to increase the quality of our projects, to reduce the risks in our projects, and to enhance the community of project management experts.
Now, this realization came on a senior and an executive management level.
Yes.
And what they understood, and I wish more senior managers and executives would recognize this, I think they have it somewhere in their peripheral vision, but are they conscious of it is the question, is that they realized that although projects are executed by project teams, for projects to maximize their potential business case, projects, programs, and project portfolios require the involvement and the conscious decision-making of senior management and executive management. And I think that's missing in a lot of companies. So I'd like to hear, let's get back to 1999. What was kind of the spark that said, okay, where the board member said, no, we need to change this?
Again, it was this understanding that there is no red thread for our project management. And there was, on the other hand, definitely the expectation to find lots of good bits and pieces that we need to bring together. And only in 2003, they started to organize, to establish a global organization. So in the headquarters we had,
which is a challenge, right?
Absolutely. So we had a global organization in place that we still have in place today, that has in the divisions in our headquarters the PM coordinators, that has the coordinators in the countries, and within the countries in the major branches.
So and you have the same processes, you speak the same language.
And we now have the same process and speak the same language. And I was there towards the beginning, and I saw how difficult it was to train this language, and I know how simple it is today, because I still work in projects and I still support projects. And when we talk about our PM40, PM80, so our milestones.
Yeah, your milestones.
It's automatic.
Yeah,
everybody knows what's it about. Yeah.
What I always say when I train fundamentals, right? I often say, listen, when we go through the fundamentals, what we're going to go through is we're going to go through an arsenal. I use the word arsenal. We are going to go through an arsenal of vocabulary. We might also call it buzzword bingo or bullshit bingo, right? Lots of words like project charter, stakeholder analysis, risk register, configuration management, where a lot of people say, what the hell are they talking about, right? Now, the ultimate purpose of good vocabulary, number one, or two reasons, is to create an effective. So I can say, you can mention your milestones like you mentioned, and the lights go on in people's eyes and they know what you're talking about. It saves you time. So it's effective and it's efficient. Unfortunately, I think we all have the experience in modern management that we often use vocabulary for other reasons. One, to intimidate people, to confuse people, or to impress people, right? Which is not the purpose of using this kind of vocabulary, right? So that was one of the targets when you decided to make to take project management not out of the hands of your different regions or different business units, but to take it higher and say, okay, yes, we want you to continue doing project management, but are we doing it? Do we have a uniform process, right? So